I don't even know how to start this without sounding completely insane, but I think I just figured out why I can't stop rewatching certain Rick and Morty episodes while others make me want to crawl under a rock and never come out. And it's not what you think. It started during one of those late-night spiral moments, questioning everything, when I found myself going back through the entire series, frame by frame, for weeks. That's when I noticed something weird. The episodes that feel the most bleak always come right before the ones that feel strangely hopeful. And the ones people call masterpieces? They consistently follow a very specific emotional formula, applying the same subtle psychological trick. What if that's not a coincidence? What if the show was designed to manipulate how we feel, episode by episode, to keep us emotionally invested without realizing it? Because once you see the pattern I found, you'll realize that your favorite episodes might actually be the most dangerous ones. Most people assume the Rick and Morty fandom is just split. Some episodes are brilliant, others are trash, and it's all a matter of taste. But once I started analyzing fan reaction data, behind-the-scenes interviews, even scrapped storylines, I realized there's something much more intentional going on. Something is built into how the episodes are structured. I mean, think about it. Why does Pickle Rick simultaneously win Emmys and get torn apart by hardcore fans? Why does the Vat of Acid episode make grown adults sob uncontrollably? And why do certain episodes feel like they're actively trying to hurt us? They might actually be the key to understanding how the show works. Because if you line them up and start tracking emotional tone, you'll notice a rhythm, almost like the writers are following a psychological pattern, not just storytelling, emotional conditioning. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It reshapes how you interpret every classic episode and makes you question what you were really feeling and why.
If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to join the community and let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure Morty's deep psychological analysis really moved you. Amazing what happens when you graduate from picture books to actual television criticism.
Okay, Rick, very funny. But seriously, guys, this isn't just me overanalyzing cartoons in my bedroom anymore. I'm talking about the episodes that fans worship like religious texts. And oh boy, there's a pattern here that's going to mess with your head.
The Vat of Acid episode.
Look, I don't want to get all emotional here, but this episode basically destroyed me in the best way possible. It's got like a 9.8 out of 10 rating, and honestly, I get it. So Rick gives me this save state device. Basically like a video game checkpoint, right? And I'm thinking, oh man, finally I can fix all my screw-ups. I use it to ask out Jessica, win the lottery, even save my dad's pathetic life. But every time I reset, I lose these genuine moments I had with people, real connections that actually mattered. Then Rick drops the bomb. The device was fake the whole time. He just kept moving me to dimensions where my saves already happened. But here's what messed me up. My pain was real. My growth was real. Even when everything else was an illusion, what I felt actually mattered. That's why 1.4 million people watched this and came away feeling like they'd been emotionally destroyed and rebuilt.
Total recall.
Okay, this one gave me trust issues that I'm still working through. It's got a rating 9.4 out of 10 because it's basically psychological warfare disguised as a cartoon episode. So these alien parasites sneak into our house by implanting fake memories of people who were supposedly always there. We meet all these family friends like Sleepy Gary, who's apparently my mom's ex-husband, and Pencil Vester, who's literally just a pencil with arms that we supposedly love. The rule is, the parasites can only create happy memories, so we have to kill anyone we can't remember being mad at. 22 different fake people in our house, and we're all pointing guns at each other trying to figure out who's real. Then my mom shoots Mr. Poopy Butthole and, oh geez, he was real the whole time. Seeing him in that hospital bed, disappointed but not angry, it broke something in all of us. That's how you create the most analyzed episode in the series.
Pickle Rick.
This one's complicated for me because it won an Emmy and brought in 2.3 million viewers, but it also exposed everything wrong with my family. Rick literally turns himself into a pickle to avoid therapy. A pickle. Then he builds this insane exoskeleton out of dead rats and cockroaches, kills like 50 government agents, and becomes this unstoppable pickle assassin. It's the most Rick thing ever, using science to avoid dealing with feelings. But then Dr. Wong, That's Susan Sarandon, by the way. She just completely destroys him in therapy, calls out all his behaviors, explains why he hurts people, and for once, Rick can't science his way out of being wrong. Some fans think the therapy stuff was too obvious, but honestly, it was the first time I felt like someone understood what living with Rick actually does to a family. But here's what I discovered in those production notes. These beloved episodes follow what the writers call the emotional payoff formula. Every single fan-favorite episode contains 3 specific elements: my genuine growth, Rick's vulnerability being exposed, and a resolution that feels both absurd and emotionally honest.
Oh, wow! Morty found a formula. Next, he'll discover that water is wet and that Jerry's a disappointment. Revolutionary stuff.
But the hated episodes? Oh geez, they break this formula in very specific ways, and I think it might be intentional. Now let's talk about the episodes that make fans want to burn down Adult Swim headquarters. And trust me, the pattern here is going to make you question everything about the show's creative process.
Never Ricking Morty.
This episode made me question,
Oh, the story train episode? Let me guess, Morty. You're gonna whine about how it broke the fourth wall and made you question reality. It's called metafiction, Morty. Maybe pick up a book sometime that isn't about horses.
oh my god, Rick. This episode made me question everything about my own existence, and not in a good way. And Rick, that's exactly why this story matters, because you just proved my point without even realizing it. It's got a rating 6.9 out of 10, and honestly, the reviews are split right down the middle. People either give it 1 star or 10 stars, no in between. So Rick and I get trapped on this story train that generates infinite versions of our adventures. We see anime Rick and Morty, biblical Rick and Morty, even claymation versions of us fighting Jesus. But here's what made my brain hurt. The episode keeps stopping to talk about storytelling itself. Rick literally says, "This is stupid," about our own adventures, while the whole thing breaks apart around us. It felt like the writers were making fun of everyone who actually cares about our stories. Only 1.1 million people watched it, lowest ratings of the season, and I can see why. It's like being told that nothing you've been through matters because it's all just content. Dan Harmon later admitted they made it as a stress test to see how much metafiction fans could handle. Well, turns out not much.
Interdimensional Cable. 2 episodes.
These are weird because some people love them and others think they're lazy garbage. The first one got an 8.4, but the sequel dropped to 7.8 out of 10. Basically, we just sit around watching TV from other dimensions while Rick improvises completely insane commercials. You get stuff like Two Brothers, which is literally just called Two Brothers, and Gazzer Pazorpfield, which is Garfield but alien and way more violent. Here's the thing though, Justin Roiland just made most of this up on the spot because the writers were burned out and needed filler episodes. Some fans think it's pure creativity, but honestly, sometimes it feels like they're just wasting time that could be spent on, actual adventures that might help me process my trauma.
Claw and Hoarder. Special Rick Tim's Morty.
Ugh, the dragon episode. This thing has a 6.7 out of 10 rating and I totally get why people hated it. So I befriend this wizard who gives me a dragon, which sounds cool until you realize the whole episode is about loneliness and sexual weirdness. Like, the dragon and I soul bond, but it's explicitly sexual, and then Rick and my dad get involved with these magical cats that lead to an orgy with the dragon. I'm not even kidding. The whole thing felt like shock value just for the sake of being shocking, without any of the clever writing that usually makes the gross stuff worth it. But here's what really bothers me. I found out later there were deleted scenes about Rick's childhood trauma with pets that would have made the dragon obsession make sense. Instead, we just got dragon orgies and me feeling confused about my own feelings. Here's the first major twist. The episodes fans hate most aren't failures, they're experiments. The writers have been deliberately pushing boundaries to see how far they can stretch the Rick and Morty formula before it breaks.
Congratulations, Morty. You figured out that creative people experiment with their art. What's next? Gonna tell me that scientists do experiments in labs?
But why would they want to break their own show? That's where this gets really unsettling. I spent weeks analyzing fan polls, Reddit discussions, and even therapy forums where people discuss our psychological impact. And I found something chilling. The most hated episodes always air right before the most beloved ones. Never Rick and Morty aired right before Pro Mortius. Claw and Hoarder came right before Rattlestar Rick Lactica. It's like they're deliberately creating emotional whiplash.
Oh, boo-hoo! Morty discovered television programming schedules. Maybe next he'll crack the mystery of why commercials come between shows.
This is where my research gets really dark. I think the creators have discovered that fans bond more deeply with relief episodes when they come after stress episodes. It's like they're training us to be grateful for basic storytelling competence by occasionally withholding it. But there's an even deeper layer to this psychological manipulation. Here's the revelation that's going to change how you watch our show forever. The episodes we hate most might be the ones telling us the most important truths about the show's actual nature. I found a leaked pitch document from early season 4 that describes something called the metaparasitic structure. Remember the parasites from Total Recall that implant false happy memories? What if I told you the entire show is structured like a parasite? Think about it. Our creators give us these incredible high-concept episodes, the vat of acid, Pickle Rick, that make us feel smart and emotionally satisfied. But then it hits us with episodes like Never Rick and Morty that basically say, hey, you realize you're just consuming content, right? None of this matters. There's a popular fan theory that the hated stories are actually the real Rick and Morty, cynical, meaningless, and contemptuous of their audience, while the beloved episodes are the false memories, the comforting illusion that this show has heart.
Wow! Fans think some episodes are fake and others are real. Next, they'll theorize that cartoons aren't actually documentary footage. Groundbreaking stuff, Morty.
What's true about this theory? The tonal whiplash is definitely intentional. Dan Harmon has openly discussed his interest in punishing audiences who get too comfortable. What's wrong? It assumes malice where there might just be artistic struggle. The leaked documents suggest the writers are just as confused about what Rick and Morty should be as we are. But here's the really unsettling part. What if the episodes we perceive as bad are actually glimpses of the show's true nature, while the good episodes are the simulation designed to keep us watching? In Never Rick and Morty, the anthology machine literally traps Rick and Morty in an endless cycle of story premises. The episode is hated because it reveals the uncomfortable truth. We're trapped in the same cycle as viewers, always hoping the next episode will be the real Rick and Morty.
Oh, great! Morty's having an existential crisis about television again. What's next? Gonna tell me that movies aren't real life either?
I found production emails discussing something called Audience Stockholm Syndrome. The idea that viewers will defend even the worst episodes if they're emotionally invested enough in the good ones. The hated episodes aren't failures. They're psychological anchors that make us grateful when the show returns to form. This explains why Pickle Rick is simultaneously beloved and criticized. It's the perfect example of Rick and Morty giving us exactly what we think we want, Rick being badass, while secretly making us complicit in enabling his emotional avoidance. So what does this all mean? That maybe our hatred and love for these episodes isn't really about quality at all. It's about which version of the show we want to believe in. The episodes you love, they let you believe that underneath all the nihilism and trauma, there's something genuinely meaningful happening, that Rick's pain matters, that my growth is real, that this family can actually heal. The episodes we hate force us to confront the possibility that it's all just content. Pixels on a screen designed to keep us engaged between commercial breaks. Never Rick and Morty doesn't tell a story. It shows us the machine that manufactures stories. And you know what? Maybe that's why we need both kinds of episodes. The beloved ones give us hope, and the hated ones keep us honest about what we're really doing here. I used to think the worst episodes were mistakes, failures of creativity or vision. But now I'm starting to realize they might be the most honest thing Rick and Morty has ever produced. They're the episodes that admit what the show really is. A brilliant, manipulative, occasionally cruel piece of entertainment that we can't stop watching. The truth is, we don't just love the good episodes and hate the bad ones. We love having episodes to hate because it makes us feel like sophisticated critics. And we hate that we love the show despite its worst impulses because it makes us question our own judgment. It's the perfect Rick and Morty paradox. The episodes that make us angriest might be the ones that understand us best.
Morty just discovered that art can be challenging and uncomfortable. Alert the Nobel Committee, we've got a real philosopher over here.
But speaking of understanding, I've been digging into something even more unsettling about our show. Because if the creators can manipulate our emotions this precisely with individual episodes, What does that say about their understanding of the infinite multiverse they've created? How many versions of these episodes exist across infinite realities? How many Ricks are having this exact same conversation with their Mortys right now? And if there are infinite Ricks, infinite versions of every story we've ever seen, oh geez, you guys, I think I'm starting to understand something truly terrifying about what it means to be infinite. But that's a rabbit hole for another time. For now, just remember, the next time you watch a Rick and Morty episode you hate, ask yourself, are you hating the episode or are you hating what it's showing you about yourself?